friends. So yesterday we started to read the story, The Tale of Peter Rabbit. And do you remember what happened to Peter? What did he do in the story? Right, he did. He went to Mr. McGregor's garden. And did his mommy tell him to go to Mr. McGregor's garden? No, she said, do not go to Mr. McGregor's garden. And his siblings, or his brothers and sisters, listened, and they went and they picked blackberries. But Peter Rabbit went to Mr. McGregor's garden and he saw him, right? So this is where we left off yesterday. Mr. McGregor saw Peter and ran after him. And Peter felt frightened. Good job. He was frightened. So let's see what happens to him today. I read some of your predictions, and I think some of you might be right that Peter might get away. Let's find out. He lost one of his shoes in the cabbages. Then he lost the other shoe in the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on all four legs and went faster and faster. He might have got away, but he got caught in a gooseberry net. So this is a kind of plant. He got caught in a gooseberry net. He got his jacket stuck in there. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, and it was new. Peter gave up. He shed big tears. How's he feeling? Right, he's sad. His sobs were overheard by a friendly sparrow. So a sparrow is a type of bird, heard him and begged him to try to get out. Let's see what happens. Mr. McGregor found a trap, and he was going to put it on top of him. What do you think Peter will do? He wiggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him. So here's Peter running away from the trap, and his jacket he left behind. Peter rushed into the tool shed and he jumped into a watering can. It would have been beautiful to hide inside a watering can, but it had too much water in it. Mr. McGregor was sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He carefully began to turn them over. Suddenly, Peter sneezed. So here's the flower pots. He was turning them over one by one. Here they are. And then Peter sneezed. Do you think Mr. McGregor found him? Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. He tried to catch Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. Peter sat down to rest. He was out of breath and frightened, and he had no idea which way to go. And he was wet. Why was Peter wet? Right, he fell into the watering can. He went into the watering can. It had too much water in it. After a time, he began to wander about, not going fast and looking all around. What do you think he's looking for? Good, he could be looking for a way out. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone, carrying peas and beans to her family. Peter asked her where the gate was. She had such a large pea in her mouth that she couldn't answer. Peter began to cry. Why do you think Peter's crying? Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he came more and more puzzled. A white cat, staring at some goldfish in the pond, sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched. Peter was afraid that she might try to catch him. He went back toward the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a screech, scratch, scratch, screech. What is Peter hearing? He hid underneath the bushes. Here's Mr. McGregor raking, and there's Peter watching to see Mr. McGregor. But soon, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor. His back was turned toward Peter, and beyond him was the gate. So here's Mr. McGregor, and Peter can see the gate. So he has to try to get to the gate without Mr. McGregor seeing him. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go along a straight walk behind some blackberry bushes. Mr. McGregor saw him at the corner of his eye, but Peter did not care. He slipped right under the gate and was safe at last, in the woods outside of the garden. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes as the scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. So Mr. McGregor used Peter Rabbit's shoes and jacket as a scarecrow. Whew, let's see. Peter never stopped running or looking behind him until he got home to his big fir tree. So here he is, he got home. How do you think he's feeling now that he's home? Probably happy or relieved. He was so tired that he flopped down on the nice soft sand and on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was cooking, and she wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second jacket and pair of shoes Peter lost in 2 weeks. That evening, Peter was not very well. His mother put him to bed and made him chamomile tea. She gave a dose of it to Peter. 1 tablespoon to be taken at bedtime. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. So now Peter is sick and he's getting medicine while his brothers and sisters get to eat the good stuff. And that's the end. And there's Peter getting taken care of by his mom. Do you think Peter made a good choice to go to the garden even though his mom told him not to? Me either. That was not a very safe choice. So we have to remember to listen to our mommies and daddies. If you want, I would like you to draw a picture of Peter and tell me what happened in the story with Peter and tell your parents so they can tell me, okay? Bye. I'll see you later.